Are you familiar with EcoVadis? EcoVadis. I'm assuming not. So EcoVadis is an organization that sets out a score for corporations that allows them to measure their sustainability. And it's based upon what they're doing with everything from gender diversity to gender equality to CSR activities to energy emissions, etc. I was wondering what your perceptions might be on that.
Great. As I say, all of these things, too much of it is greenwashing and not since really deep change. And, I go, well, good for you. But, the fact is we're going right over the cliff. And I feel, I used to say we're in a giant car heading at a brick wall at 100 miles an hour. And someone's got to say, put the brakes on and turn the wheel. But the people that are saying that, we're locked in the trunk. Nobody listens. I don't use that metaphor anymore. I say we're like Roadrunner. The cartoon. Mm-hmm. Roadrunner is being chased by Wile E. Coyote, and there's a cliff. Roadrunner always turns 180 degrees or 90 degrees. He avoids it, but Wiley has got so much momentum, he goes right over the cliff. And there's that moment when Wiley is suspended in air and he realizes, oh my God, and then down he goes. That's where we're at. We've gone over the edge. We can't, but I'm still working because I think some of us may catch onto a ledge. We don't have to fall 300 feet down to the bottom of the canyon. We're going like that, but we can grab onto. So my focus is really on the units of survival now that we've gone over the edge, and that is our local communities. And at the local community level, my God, there are all kinds of solutions. I wrote a book called Good News for a Change in 2003. 3 years later, I wrote a second book called More Good News. There's lots of things that can be done. 3 years ago, I didn't want to fly to Toronto, so I drove an electric car from Vancouver to Toronto, and the revolution is here. When you look at what's going on, farmers whose entire operation is electrified depending on batteries. If you look at Indigenous communities in which their whole economic future is based on the largest solar array in Canada or the largest windmill farms. I mean, we've got city councils like Regina that are committed to net zero by 2035. There are programs like the David Suzuki Foundation that shows with technology already available, we can have a grid in Canada that is fueled by green, renewable energy at a cost that is completely competitive. There are lots of things. You just have to make the commitment.
You say fundamentally the issue is the economic system, because we are driven by profits. I would ask you to think, if we changed our language for corporations to stay, think about the earth and the planet first. If you started with that as the fundamental design formation, is that a good place to start, rather than saying to them in your opening premise, forget your economic system?
Well, I think that's a good point, and sure, of course, I'd support that. I would say, though, that if you're seriously doing that, many companies will have to say, we're in the wrong business. We're not, because just producing a product should not be justifying, and now we have to find clean renewables. And not that we can make clean coal, which is bull BS, or not that we're reducing the amount of pollution that we make. No, we are energy companies, and our goal is clean, renewable energy. That is a big change, but it's not a hard one. The difficulty is how do we do that to make a transition?
We're not just at the precipice. We've gone too far, right?
Yeah.
But yet, one of your peers, John Elkington, who has written a report on sustainability through his coalition and through the Vulcan Group, is quoted as saying, experts point to investing in new technologies and R&D aimed at solving sustainability challenges as the most powerful action that business can take as a lever of change. Creating better products and services that make sustainability commercially attractive, drive improvements across supply chains, and improve collaboration within or across sectors are also seen as promising private sector pathways.
The fundamental system and values that underlie the way we act is it'll extend our time before the total chaos sets in. That's all we're doing.
Well, thank you, David. I want to thank you so much for spending the time with me today. I've learned a lot, and I hope our audience has as well. I think the thing that I take away from here is that it really does start with the science. It's understanding what we are doing at a much bigger, from a much bigger perspective than all of us. It's understanding that if we put the earth and Mother Nature first as we think about our lives, our businesses, the products we create, the things that we design, that will at least put us on the right start going forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.